Nice. Stats. You can even say maybe, arguably the best Protoss. Certainly one of them, but maybe the best Protoss. Can he do it? Dark in one short game. Monster moded. You know what? Is there a connection, perhaps, between the Warm Pack being expelled onto the keyboard and then Innovation not having the stamina to keep on going the next game?
That's obviously the reason. There's not even a doubt in my mind, and if that hasn't already been posted in the Innovation Fan Club thread, I will be severely disappointed.
It's science.
It is. Can't argue with science. Yeah. At that point, you couldn't blame lag because it was on the Korean server, so let's blame the warming pack instead. Ladies and gentlemen, your new King of the Hill, and of course the runner-up at BlizzCon 2016 Grand Finals. To the northeast position on Daybreak LE. In the purple trunks playing Zerg, it is Dark. Versus his opponent to the southwest position in the red trunks playing Protoss. The one and only Stats.
This will be interesting. This is a map that... in its prime was fairly figured out. It became controversial because of Swarm Host, obviously, but very much so because it also is a very half and half map, which made for simultaneously interesting but also uninteresting games, depending on kind of what you like, but also it shaked out. Now we see a lot of different gameplay, obviously, than from the meta at that time, and it's a lot more fast-paced and less siegey. Back then, Swarm Hosts were not aggressive guys. They were just attrition, grind you out, very slow. Even Broodlord style was very much so like, I'm not the best at attacking, but you can't come into this because there's fungal and there's Broodlords and it's just a mess. Now, we saw early and fast carriers on the ZVP that we had earlier in this tournament here, and it did not work out. The Hydras did shine in that game. So I'm kind of curious as to what Stats' interpretation of this map is.
Yeah, it is going to be really interesting to watch. That at least is one advantage of going with these older maps. I have a feeling that they may very well become very samey very quickly. I mean, I guess it's okay for the off-season, but I always like to see new maps. I like to see the game evolve as a result of that.
Yeah.
And while, yeah, okay, it does a little bit when you take a new patch with some real changes and a new expansion and then you host it on some of the classic maps, it doesn't really have the staying power for me. That's just personal preference. I don't know what the pro players think of it.
I think they seem like they're mostly okay with it, but I think it is under the understanding of there's not a lot of tournaments right now. Like, we are going to have IEM Korea, which is going to be really fun. See these guys play in prolonged series of best of threes, best of fives, that kind of thing. That's always really fun. But I think if they were to, like, you know what, we're going to keep the map pool into September of next year, I think there'd be a lot of people really upset because generally... people agree with you, TotalBiscuit, that it is fun to see these new players challenged on maps that change the meta. This map's good for mech, this map's not, this map's fast-paced, this map's exotic. Like, that does just make things more interesting.
Got a little bit of chase down right here, and Dark will lose that. Did he see the Dark Shrine? That was... No, he didn't. Well timed by Stats. It almost looked like the Ling was in vision range just before it died, but he didn't see it.
Yeah.
And
so you know what?
Archon.
He's gonna have speed overload, so he's gonna see everything right now. But
oh yeah, there it is.
It's just this is so completely the norm. I'm trying to think if there was a time. I mean, there has been, but it's been a long time since a matchup. Well, since specifically the PvZ matchup had such an incredibly dominant. This is what we do. Singular opening. Like, there's been times where like there have been popular openings, but then they'll be speckled in. Stargate openers or Fast ET or Blink all-ins. Like, sure, they're the outliers, but out of 10 games, you'll see each of those once or twice. Whereas right now, if you go to Korea or watch a Korean game, a PvZ, 9 or 8 times out of 10, it's this opening, with the only variation being like they do a little bit of DT harass and then make them into Archons, or they take a fast third or do a 2-base all-in off of it. That's really the only variation you're seeing on this build, and it's because it's so good.
Yeah, we've seen any player that has really solid control do quite a bit with it. Dark, interestingly enough, trying to do a little bit of his own drop harass, trying to kill this pylon, and he actually will get it.
Yeah.
There's quite a few Lings there, and they're going to escape.
Yeah, Stats is fine with that, though. That pylon, is a 100 mineral investment in those lings not surprising and killing probes. And if you think about it, it takes 2 probes to kill equal amount of value, but probably more in terms of what they bring in. And wow, well, there's those 4 DTs. Well, I just cut myself off there. No lings here. Pick it up. Okay, he does.
Yep, the lings got sliced and diced quite badly. He was able to take out a queen immediately. There's the evacuation, and he's getting out of there. This is a very nice map for Warp Prism Harass, simply because of the amount of dead space there is around some of these bases. Allows for some very quick escapes, and there is that Archon morph. Now, Dark knows this is coming, no doubt about it. He's building roaches and queens to try and deal with it. But here's an interesting thing. We're seeing speed for Zealots coming out. And if I recall correctly, speed did get a buff in this patch. One of the few things for Protoss that did.
Yep, the Zealots just have a base movement upgrade. It's a pretty significant one. What I like about this, and it's just so awesome watching Dark play, he has the tower, he has the Overlord at the 3rd. So guess what? As time goes on, the surprise of a 2-base all-in is going to be non-existent. He's already probably planning for that. And he's hit a point in his production where he says, and I'll be surprised if he deviates from this, I don't need to make many more drones. He's got 1 more on that production tab, but it should just be roaches from here on out, and maybe lings. And doing a 2-base timing attack into that is, I'm going to use the word difficult because I'm a sellout commentator. Between us girls, it's actually impossible. It's really impossible. It's stupid.
You're not allowed to say that. You've got to make sure that everybody seems like they have a chance.
Okay, well,
any man with 2 hands has a fighting chance, right? No.
The banelings. I mean, look at that.
Oh dear.
Is there an observer over here? Because if he doesn't, he's going to be fighting on creep on top of this.
There is an observer that is just about to get there. Although you do want to watch out for that. I mean, I've seen more than 1 game lost because the observer was lagging a little bit behind.
No Ravagers, though. No Ravagers.
No, that is true. And here come the Banelings. The charging Zealots get absolutely obliterated. However, decent force fields there. And we see the Archons continue to push through. Immortals need to start focusing fire on those roaches rather than the queens. Another warping of charging Zealots gets to grips with them. And very little health left on any of those sentries. The roaches pushing them back. Some damage done. This was an expensive trade.
It's dead. He's building a warp prism behind this because his idea was if anything survive, I'll come over and do it again.
Oh god, he's going to lose
might
everything.
Just do it again. And again, there's no 3rd. There's no Overlord even in the middle of the map, seeing there's no Nexus there. He has it scouted the 3rd. So he just keeps making units. He's going to make drones here. Because he lost some in the defense, but honestly, he doesn't even have to do that.
Yeah. Oh dear.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, he should do that, but it's just really bad.
How is
did that pretty close? The fact that there's no Ravagers was actually I'm going to say a pretty. It's not a mistake so much as just a bad choice by Dark, or maybe it was a mistake. But the force fields from stats actually kind of whiffed. Like, he trapped some Banelings, but then had his Zealots slide into them. If he was able to preserve the life of all of his Zealots and use his Archons to absorb and destroy the Banelings, he actually probably could have won that fight with good force fields.
Well, he did lose, as you mentioned, a ton of Zealots really early on. They just charged right to their doom, which was a bit embarrassing to watch. But I was about to ask you, what's your Hail Mary in this situation to get back into this? Stats seems to believe that harassment might do the trick. I mean, you're already fighting a fairly low econ Zerg in the form of Dark. Maybe that'll work. Unfortunately, we're going to see a very low econ Protoss if he takes too many bad hits. Thankfully, the double pylon activation did shut down most of it. And there's a couple of things getting caught out in the middle of the map here as well. Army supply-wise, Stats actually has a decent-sized army, even though he's still on 2 bases. The problem is, this is probably his last army.
Yeah, this is all he's got going. I mean, to answer your question, the Warp Prism is obviously a really nice touch there, as long as you don't lose it. If he loses this, the game's just over, because he actually needs this to resupply his next phase of the all-in.
Yeah.
But Dark is just so thorough. He did econ damage there. He's not on the 3rd anymore, but he sees this army, and he's just... It's hard to try and trick Dark, but as I say that, actually, he needs to get over here. The army is going to leave the main now.
Yep, he does need to do that. Everything's joined up now, so he'll be able to use the Warp Prism to reinforce. The 3rd's going down. Interestingly enough, Dark immediately spots it, just completely on top of it with the Changeling there.
Yeah.
So he was waiting for that to see, like, all right, is Stats going to keep trying to all-in me? Or is he actually going to try and sneak a third in there while I'm overly defensive? And he's not going to be able to sneak it in there. Dark's already spotted it. The question is, does Dark have enough of a force to stop it?
That's the kind of nice thing here. Pardon me, by the way. Sorry. We're getting clogged up here. But Stats with this, like, offbeat third, he pushes out, and it seems like with that push out, it's impossible for him to just go home and expand because it's like the worst of both worlds. He's pseudo-committed to an attack that he then didn't pull off. But what Stats is doing is he's putting Dark in a weird spot where Dark is like, I'm on low econ, and I don't have a fourth hatch at all. So he's just now rebuilding some of these drones because he emphasized army so much. And he'll take this fourth base, but ideally for a Zerg, that fourth base is saturated and going by the time the third is saturated and going for the Protoss. And you can see he's a little bit behind that. Now, I do like the Lurker Den. That's a really good middle ground.
Yeah, it will be fairly tricky for Stats to properly engage. That was a few ways to do it. He doesn't have many of them, but he wants to go for it before that happens. Archon's at the front this time, able to absorb a lot of the Baneling hits. The Zealots need to get a move on, but now the Banelings are, for the most part, down. They should be able to get some work done. Great force fields by Stats. Blocks off all of the Banelings from attacking. The fourth base gets cancelled. That was a nice engagement.
It was a really nice engagement, and this time Stats did keep the Zealots alive in the background, so he remains with a supply advantage here, actually.
Significant in terms of his army. His economy isn't up to much, but look at the power that he's got going on here, and the Lurkers aren't done yet. It looks like Stats may have found a perfect time to go. Banelings detonate, but there are still Zealots in the mix. The Archons try and find their way in here, but the Hydra's at the back doing a lot of work. There might be just a bit too much Protoss, though. The Immortals stand tall. So do the Archons. GG! A Dark's reign rapidly comes to a close.
Goes from Dominator to 0, but you got to give it to Stats. Like,
wow,
things are just not going his way. Takes a bad fight. Stays in this two-base all-in kind of mode, but then really just throws off Dark with his pressure, kind of making scouting harder, but also making it a tough read for Dark, where he's like, gosh, is he going to all-in against me, or is he expanding? The expansion comes out at an off time, which again makes Dark in this weird spot where he started taking additional gases. He was teching, he was building drones. But it wasn't so bad as, like, he got caught completely off guard. It was really interesting because he just got caught very much so in the middle ground. Like, he didn't have a big army and didn't have a big economy because he was kind of trying to do both at that moment in time.
Very nicely executed, though, by Stats, you got to admit.
Yeah.
Really, really good. I mean, that last fight in particular was sheer perfection. A lot of care and attention went into that engagement. You could tell. It played out really, really well for him. And somehow he gets away with it. You know, you were talking about the idea he was on two bases for so long, but I believe you mentioned something along the lines of Dark being further behind economically than he should have at that stage.
Yeah, he just... it's just a little bit crazy for him. He survives the all-in. He has great intel and sees there's no third. But the execution, and to go with what you were saying, of Stats' second phase of the attack was so much infinitely better. The force fields were trapping the right units. They were blocking back Banelings. He was focusing down Banelings with the Archons. He was holding back Zealots. And it made just the biggest of differences. And Dark never really had the big economy, was going towards Lurkers but didn't get them out, like you pointed out, which just meant that he was spending additional money that wasn't yet taking shape. And he had like a smattering of Hydras, a smattering of Roaches, a smattering of Banelings, but never really a huge swell of one or the other, and it just got awkward.
Yeah, it was unfortunate. We have a couple more players left. We're not done yet with ShoutCraft Kings December. We've had a bevy of excellent StarCraft for you. Some great streaks as well as some excellent games. Pretty much most of them, I think, are excellent games.
Best commentary. Can we just put that out there?
I mean, I wasn't going to toot my own horn, as it were, but if you wish to toot yours, you're more than welcome to it. I'm not going to judge.
Yeah, I mean, I think, to be honest, this is some of the best co-commentary I've ever heard from myself, you know?
Yeah, some sort of...
point analysis is mostly accurate.
Just some sort of Archon, perhaps.
Well, yeah. I didn't want to say that because I feel like that's stealing the thunder of the guys that, you know, Tastosis, back when they were professional commentators, were two of the absolute best, you know?
I love it. Our next challenger. This one's for you, Jeff.
Yes!
Because we haven't had much PvP today. And I know you like some PvP.
I do.
I imagine you probably like PvP very much when it concerns these two players. If you remember a few hours ago, we were talking about rises and successes and what certain players managed to achieve on the back of a particular matchup, specifically PvP. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this guy knows what he's doing in this matchup. It's Neeb.
Neeb, one of the only foreign players I can ever name in the history of StarCraft 2. I think of Stefano in kind of the same category as someone who a lot of Korean players said this guy is setting the trend. His style, what he has come up with and what he is doing is what we need to do to be competitive with him. That's amazing. In the PvP matchup specifically. Stefano kind of revolutionized ZVP back in his heyday, and a lot of the Korean players, Jaedong, kind of when he joined StarCraft, he was like, I look up to him. He's got great ideas, and it's really fun to watch.
All right. Here we go. We've seen some incredible PvP over the last year or so. Like, it's very much revolutionized the matchup and made it a hell of a lot more enjoyable to watch. And this man right here is very much responsible for quite a bit of that. To the southeast position, in the blue trunks, playing Protoss, it's Neeb. Or Neeblet. Has he changed his name back? Because I was getting yelled at for calling him Neeb instead of Neeblet. Apparently, that's a thing now.
Who can ever know? Who can ever be sure?
Who could possibly? To the northwest position, quickly pausing the game. In the green trunks, playing Protoss, he is currently the king of the hill, with one map under his belt. He is Stats. And they were having a little chat in the lobby. They were both very much like, no, you go Su PvP. No, you go Su. It was adorable.
Oh, that's cute.
Mm-hmm.
Patting each other's egos like that for the game is really nice. But we do have split map positions on Whirlwind, which it's been a nice little display. The last time we played Whirlwind, it's been vertical, it's been horizontal, and now it's split. You can kind of get the feel for all the different looks. When it's split like this, by the way, this is one of the biggest maps you'll ever see in competitive StarCraft 2. It becomes absolutely massive. So many bases out there, so many different options, and a huge distance between the two of you. With the tower, by the way, we haven't really talked about this. It's mega relevant. It just, if you go anywhere near the middle of the map, because the reason it's called Whirlwind is it all kind of comes to that central focal point. That tower sees all. It's like Sauron's eye.
That it does. It's a great place to control. This map is huge. We see a couple of probes pass each other. It's going to take a little while for them to find what's going on. Can you explain to me how does cross-map PvP work in Legacy of the Void on a map of this size?
You're more likely to expand. Like, both players were obviously always going to lean towards that. The 2-gate opening is kind of the most normal way to open up, but a lot of players will not go double adept on a map like this because of how far they have to go to get that success. People are already getting tighter about it. And of course, as I say that, Neeb's going to go double adept anyways, but his adepts are ridiculously good. And you're sometimes more likely to see things like Phoenix on a map like this. So there's that Stargate. It could still be for Oracle, obviously, but Phoenix, the bigger the map, the better the Phoenix is, basically.
Well, that's the first Stargate going down. And Stats is going to grab it. But he's going to put it in an interesting little spot.
That's for an Oracle. Maybe Void Ray.
Let's see which one. I'm intrigued.
95% it's an Oracle, 5% it's Void Ray, and then less than 1% it's Phoenix. You don't proxy and go Phoenix, because that obviously exposes you to, if they're going Phoenix, you're just in a lot of trouble.
I'd like Void Ray in this position, considering the follow-up from Neeb is Stalker. And he can kind of chew through pylons as well. It'll be interesting to see where this Mothership Core decides to rest its little head. It is actually going to be an Oracle, interestingly enough, and it looks like the Mothership Core is heading back, so I don't know if that's going to get much done.
It doesn't usually initially get a lot done, but it does represent, hey, you have to leave your mothership core behind, you got to have some stalkers at home, and I'm going to scout everything you're doing. So it's just a good blanket opening. It'll just get you all the intel you want and do a lot for you.
Well, the mothership core is back and now on patrol. Where are those stalkers? They are elsewhere. Actually wandering across... That was very close to the Oracle, actually. It's almost like if he'd gone 10 seconds earlier, they actually would have intercepted that Oracle on the flight path. Maybe he was possibly anticipating a proxy, but one way or the other, the Oracle gets in, kills a probe, gets some information, but it's might die. Nope, there's the maneuvers. Stats is trying to get the hell out of there with it. In the meantime, Neba's being a bit of a pain with a couple of these adepts, but there goes the photon overcharge to shut that down.
Yeah, does scout out I believe that was a robo that he sees. So you can be reasonably sure the follow-up is going to be more of a standard variety. Because sometimes the follow-up, by the way, off of Stargate is more Stargate units and like 5 gateways of an army. So Neve will be happy to see, okay, this game's slowing down. Obviously, having a robo against a Stargate's not ideal. But if he's not following it up with aggression, then I can just park a few stalkers in each mineral line and enjoy my slight econ lead.
Yeah, and it is fairly slight. And he did get his Nexus up a little bit earlier, and he's got a bit more saturation going on with it, but the probe count continues to be equal. That's just kind of the effect of that proxy Stargate. And I have to wonder if we're going to see anything else come out of it. Currently, the Oracle just sharking around, looking for something to drop a revelation on, looking for something to spy on, the dirty, dirty little pervert.
Yeah, someone's got to do it, man. Got to get that information out there. They'll show up, and like you said, probably just use its reveal.
Gonna sit up there and see what it can get. Maybe it keeps an eye on the stalker. Maybe it does something ridiculous, like drops a stasis ward in the mineral line. I love it when that happens, as rare as it is, because most people notice that it's happening. Oh, no! Oh, he got the revelation off, so he'll be able to keep an eye on the stalkers for a little while at least, and the position of the mothership core, which is handy, but the Oracle now has basically no energy and no HP.
Yeah, but that's fine. I mean, to expect to be able to show up and kill probes after having it, not kill probes earlier.
Just ain't gonna happen.
You just don't do it. I mean, if it happens, it's like, what is going on right now? But good scouting coming out. The interesting thing, though, off of this is that third base timing. You'll notice both players are pretty much in alignment with that. Oh, as I say this, by the way, he actually gets a couple of probes. LOL. He still has the revelation there, so he saw that he left, and he's like, okay, I guess I'll go do that.
Are we going to apply the caster rule that everything you predict about stats will later be proved wrong 10 seconds afterwards? Is that how it's going to be?
Yeah, it used to bother me, and I just completely accept it. Totally fine.
It makes things more entertaining. It's nice to be surprised.
Well, I've seen commentators not actually predict anything and just talk about exactly what's happening on the screen, and I've decided that that's a perfect hell of commentary. So
yeah, it's ideal. It's why you teamed up with me.
That's right.
We've got the third base going down right here for Neeb, and the third base is already on its way for Stats as well. So a lengthier PvP game than most people have seen, I think. But
yeah,
looking at the size of the map, I mean, really, what the hell's going to happen?
With how big the map is and how spread out there, this was bound to happen. You'll notice Neeb in particular constantly sending hallucinations over there. That's because both their armies, if it does get to high ground and can, force field off the majority of the other army, that's a dead expansion, be it a third or a natural, and that's game, generally speaking, unless they lose the whole army shortly thereafter. But sending off the stalkers to go and be anti-hallucination guys, or maybe poke at the third, really nice move here from Stats. He's not committing to it either way right now, but I like that he's positioning to start thinking about that. There he goes.
Armies, yep. Looking at the army supply, relatively even. Couple more stalkers there for Stats. Few adepts in Neeb's composition. There's another warp in. Couple more sentries. Immortal count is identical, and here we go. And there they leave.
Neeb is perfectly ready for it. That spread, like you said, Adepts not necessarily the most amazing stand-up fighters, but for right now, while we're at sub 150 supply, they tank really well. They do decent damage.
They can take a punch. And with Resonating Glaives kicking in the next couple of seconds, they'll be punching an awful lot harder. Need manages to micro out of the way just in the nick of time with that Immortal, and Stats continuing to hammer down. The force field's all over the place. This is a very technical engagement, and the question is who will come out on top. Warpins on both sides make it a little bit unclear. The Immortals continue to stand firm as everything else dies.
Well,
who came off better in that?
Completely in favor of Stats.
He's on him! Right on top of him. He thinks he's got him, and he might very well be right, but is it? It's going back and forth, back and forth. It's probably going to come down to the Immortals. Stats has 2 up. Neeb has none left. There's 1, and it's wandering in, perhaps a little bit too late. And yet, somehow, thanks to these Adepts, Neeb is holding on for the time being.
Just the Adepts doing such a good job tanking. Immortals don't do bonus damage, and Stalkers do not do bonus damage there, so that if you're not going to focus them down, or if you don't have AoE damage of your own right, those Adepts are just going to be able to make up the difference. I mean, Stats definitely was winning that fight, but then in short order, all of a sudden, because of the lack of focus fire, and because of Neeb's better target priority, he was able to get those Immortals out of the fight and probably win that fight.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, considering what was in the composition, you think, oh god, right, it's Protoss with 2 Immortals versus Protoss with no Immortals. Right, that's only kind of going to go one way. But Neeb had he'd almost like he'd started to prepare for that eventuality several minutes before the fight even happened. He was building his Adept count and he started resonating glaives. So that ended up being the decider, and as you said, great target fire there. Wonderful target fire by Neeb. Like, he's no slouch in this matchup. He's phenomenal in this matchup.
Not at all. Now, kind of as an interesting development, Neeb is going to have a Warp Prism coming out here that's usually the signifier that in the PvP, one of the players wants to be aggressive. And I don't mean the obvious, like, just moving out with a Warp Prism full of Adepts or something like that. I believe this to be the catalyst for a sustained push, but he's facing double Robo Disruptor, and that's usually Neeb's forte. That's what Neeb does, but here he is being the other end of this fight.
And as we are well aware, Disruptors are some of the most potent units in the game. They can absolutely change the nature of a fight very, very quickly. A couple of good shots will gut an army, and it's been used to great effect. A lot of PvP has started to boil down to this big Disruptor versus Disruptor, and a lovely surround with Adepts. They're trapping some of the Stalkers, using those shades to great attacking effect, and we see a massive supply advantage, but Disruptors don't respect supply advantage. The question is, can he get a good detonation? The first one goes off and it doesn't really work out. The second one, not so bad. Will it be enough? It's the Immortals. The Immortal shield triggers, and Neeb continues to hammer down, but here's a big aggressive blink forward, and Stats is looking for the cleanup.
Not a bad fight from Neeb initially, but then sitting there and getting hit by 3 photon overcharged pylons turn that fight on its head in a quick hurry. I thought he split really nicely against the Disruptors. I thought he had a good chance to win the fight, but the escapability of Adepts is not... I mean, obviously, if they can shade away and it's well-timed, that's big, but he just sat there and fought, and they're not very good at killing pylons, so it just was too much.
He was taking sustained damage constantly. That was the main problem. Like, he was focused on dodging the big shots, but the sustained damage actually ended up mattering an awful lot more, and now we have a lot of Blink Stalkers making their way in. A Disruptor shot does miss. Neeb still with a reasonable number of Stalkers right here, but reinforcements continue to enter the fight. Will Neeb be able to out-micro Stats in this particular situation? Bearing in mind there is a Disruptor. The pylons are down. The Mothership core is about to fall. Aggressive blink forward. Neeb thinks he needs to go in, but... Alright, there's one Immortal, but does he have the numbers? I don't think so. Stats is able to jump on that Immortal. He finishes it off. GG. Stats takes the win in a very back-and-forth PvP.
Yeah, very fun game. A lot of action there. I thought Neeb actually was starting to have a pretty good defense. He probably was still going to be overran, but that aggressive blink forward sealed the deal. He just did not see the Stalkers behind that. And the second you put your own blink on cooldown in the name of a single Disruptor and not even sacrifice, but lose all of them, means you're dead. You're dead. Losing all your Stalkers is the easiest way for a Protoss player to be like, I'm done.
Well, that was unfortunate. But Neeb putting up a great fight. Some excellent engagements one way or the other. Very back and forth. Very fun PvP to watch. There's a reason why both of those players very much respect each other in that particular matchup. But it seems like the Disruptors maybe were a little bit too much of a focus for Neeb this time around, and sort of not seeing the wood for the trees, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, the timing attack he went for is pretty classic, but it's usually you being the aggressor. He just got done defending against stats and kind of barely holding on. To turn around at that stage of the game and be like, all right, I think adepts are going to still be relevant. It's a lot less likely. Like, obviously, disruptors are the worst case scenario, but even just mass stalkers at that point in time, which is not unreasonable to see out of stats, would have been really bad. So, not the best.
That is true. All right, we have the next matchup, folks. It is, of course, getting late over in Korea, so we don't want to delay these guys too much, and certainly downtime. Why would you want downtime? Downtime is for the weak. Here's
More
our
like
next
bad
opponent.
time.
Din Tin. Don't want it. We don't want it. Stats has been playing incredibly well. Put on a great performance in a PvP right here, but now, of course, he has to face down one of the most, if not the most, successful foreign Zerg of all time. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Liquid Snoot.
Something so right about that picture of Snoot there, surrounded by a gold bar.
Yeah,
Just right.
it's actually Snoot. It's Snoot's portrait, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It is his own portrait. You know, when you look at it from a distance, it looks like he's wearing a bicycle helmet. It's a bit strange.
Yeah. The lobby's gone.
It is. Yeah, we're just remaking because we need the central server, because otherwise we're going to have some pretty serious lag problems. For those who don't know, by the way, recent addition to the game allowed you on US server to pick between West Coast, Central, and East Coast. Very important for making custom games, because if you pick the wrong one, it's lag city for somebody. So we try and create the best possible environment, but bearing in mind it's an online tournament, you're playing cross-region, pro gamers understand that lag is a thing, and they just have to adapt to it.
Is it a possibility, Toby? I'm just spitballing here, but if enough people subscribe, could we fly all these players to one central city and do a ShoutCraft Kings out of there?
I mean, we could. That's possibly a colossal waste of money, but we could. There's nothing stopping us except for the massive financial outlay of it. Yeah, but,
I mean, the secret part here is we didn't say what we would pay ourselves to do that. Then it might be worth it, but...
Possibly.
How about at 50 million subscribers, we do that? We fly all the StarCraft 2 top players to Lincoln, Nebraska, and we hold ourselves ShoutCraft Kings Nebraska 2019.
That sounds entirely reasonable. I'm willing to commit to that, yeah? I'm willing to commit. 50 million subscribers, absolutely. Have it wherever the hell you want at that point. Have it on the moon, for all I care.
Well, let's not be too ambitious here. I mean, maybe at 100 million subscribers.
Yeah, that's true. And we need technology to evolve just a little bit. It just isn't there yet.
Not there yet. Not yet.
All right, we've remade the lobby, and we have eliminated as much of the lag as humanly possible. So, Snoot, obviously an incredibly successful player. He's won a ton of money over the last few years. #1 Norwegian player, total earnings almost 300,000 in prize money alone. He's a rich man. Well, at least he would be if he didn't live in Norway, where apparently they take all of your money.
I think a cheeseburger's $100 there, actually.
Something like that. Yeah, that's fairly accurate. It's because of all the snow. It makes everything more expensive. It's terrible, really. All right. Are we ready to go? Yes, we are. Everybody's ready. Let's rock and roll. Echo LE will be the venue for today's encounter. Of course, Snoot did show up at BlizzCon. Unfortunately, he struggled. I mean, it was a very, very hard tournament. There's no doubt about it. I know he was personally very disappointed with his results there. No doubt. But, have to admit, he has definitely been getting back on the horse as of late. Like, he has been playing a ton of online events. I mean, for God's sake, in the last week, he's played in 7 of them. It's nuts.
Well, feels like very recently a lot of Zergs have been doing pretty well. You know what I mean?
Wonder why that is.
Yeah, it's like a seasonal thing. I think it's December or whatever. Probably it's something about the winter.
Yeah, something in the air, perhaps. Let's see what he can do. Let's see if he can show some of this performance that he's been showing over the past week. This is, again, a player of huge highs and huge lows. I mean, I feel like almost anyone that joins Team Liquid ends up being that one way or the other, which is a little odd. I guess it's the kind of player they shoot for. Well, Snoot for, in the northwest position, in the blue trunks playing Zerg. Liquid Snoot versus his opponent to the southeast position. May the odds forever be in his favor. In the green trunks playing Protoss, it is Stats.
All right. Now, Snoot, in my experience with ShoutCraft Kings, did not have the best match. He, I can't remember which Terran he played. I actually think it might have been Beyond even. Maybe it wasn't Beyond. Anyways, he had a
ran
CBC
it on pretty rough. Let's just put it that way.
It was rough. So I'm excited because I hype him up, and I stand by my hype of Snoot. I think he's one of the hardest working players in the scene. I think he's one of the nicest guys, and I think he's one of the smartest players too. It's actually, we make all our jokes about Team Liquid, but what I really like is, TLO, very smart player, Snoot, very smart. They all work hard together and kind of talk and just attack the game as if it was something to be worked on for a puzzle. From a team aspect. Yeah, exactly.
Very much so. It's so weird to even think about the concept of a team in a 1-versus-1 game, especially when you're not even talking about team leagues, but there is a real benefit to it. Liquid has had success as a direct result of that. Snoot, of course, being one of their most successful players, especially on the foreign front, like, more of a, definitely in the modern Liquid. Liquid, weirdly enough, has had quite a few successful foreigners one way or the other. You talk about the early era of StarCraft, you think about Jinro. You talk about the middle era of StarCraft, you think about Thorzane.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, right now, probably Snoot. He's doing really well, but he does have those severe plunges every now and again where he just can't seem to get it together.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, like you said, winningest foreigner player, so he's gotten it together at numerous stages.
Absolutely, yes.
The expectation, the bar we've seen from him, that consistency is really hard to chase. And actually, it's kind of interesting, maybe a topic for another day, but StarCraft 2 itself, one of the best accolades you can say about Colt is that he had remained consistent over the years. Like, really one of the only ones. You name some of these amazing players, and they actually go on periods of time where, yes, they're amazing, but they lose to people that, everyone is pretty sure they're much better than.
It's a strange situation, isn't it? Because you think about maybe a game like Hearthstone, and you see players bomb out of events and like, right, well, they just didn't draw well, or that Yogg-Saron sure did screw them over, or whatever. But StarCraft 2 doesn't have that element of randomness, outside of the idea of blind cheese, and honestly, that has pretty much disappeared in Legacy of the Void, and yet still, we do see that inconsistency sometimes. Maybe some of it's because of brackets, but
it's certainly brackets, but it's maps, it's meta. This is one of the most patched games I've ever experienced. Like, there have been periods of time where it hasn't been getting patches, but for the most part, it constantly is. And maps are changing at a pretty rapid pace. So there's just eras of different players who are like, this is all jiving for me, I'm doing well right now, it makes sense. And then there's other periods of time where it's just not.
Sure enough. Snoot tried to break through there. He was able to kill a Zealot. He sacrificed a number of Lings to do it. I mean, it was a totally fair trade. It was 4 Lings for 1 Zealot. That's fine. But Stats prevented the rest of the Lings from getting in. He placed a pylon quite quickly. He's created a hell of a wall, let me put it that way, at the top of that ramp. That is, that's wonky as hell. But it'll do the job.
Yeah, we've seen that a couple. Zest was a fan of this, like, production-based wall-in.
Yeah.
But it is going to be that Archon drop, and we're starting to see... I used to think it was like a flavor of Zest, but I think most players do this thing where they poke with the 4 DTs, because if the army's not there, a queen or two does not have the DPS to deal with 4 DTs. But again, as I say this, okay, I thought he was going to make them into Archons. I was like, you got to be kidding me right now. But
nah. Yeah, it seems to be becoming the thing, isn't it? Because, they'll be useful. The surprise aspect is always nice. You can maybe kill a queen or two with it. And then when they start to figure out what's going on and get the detection up, you pull them out, turn them into Archons, and go with it again. Although I suppose the weird thing about that is that, it's supposed to be that 1-2 punch of surprise, and then, oh, surprise, but because it's happening so often, it's becoming a bit predictable.
Yeah, it's just so hard to counter at this stage.
It really
There's
is,
not much
yeah.
you can do to shut it down. The Protoss can mess up. We've seen that, but for the most part, it's going to get some damage in as long as it's controlled fairly well. Probably a big part of the reason why it is, one of the preferred builds for these top Protoss is because they do feel like as long as I control it well, it's going to do what I want it to do, as opposed to other builds that are more like, if the Zerg is doing this, then I'm in good shape. This puts all the control in your hands.
Yeah. The worst that really happens in these situations is, all right, well, his defense looks pretty good. I got a thorough analysis of what his army is, so I know exactly what he's building. Let's leave now, which is not a bad result.
No, overcommitting it or doing something poorly there would have been a bad result.
Yes.
This is more just like
it's like building a ton of stuff, something along those lines. Gets a couple of drones, why not? Gets out, no problem. And he still knows what his opponent's doing. We're seeing pretty quick Baneling speed coming out. So we've seen a couple of Zerg players try to take relatively early advantage of centrifugal hooks. I would love to see what the numbers are on that. Like, which unit is affected the most by the plus HP? Like, is it an extra shot from this, an extra shot from that at this upgrade level?
Wow. It's even stats. He's going to back off here, but I was like, man, he's expanding to an equal base count as the Zerg, harassing really well, and he feels confident in pushing out to attack. Holy Toledo, but he's going to back up. Now, I'll tell you this, Snoot's in rough shape. He's going to do a timing attack, which I Caster Curse be damned. I can't imagine him thinking any other option is viable here. He knows the third is down, and the Overlord's seeing it, and he hasn't even thrown down a fourth hatch himself. Like,
yeah.
He's moving over to do that, but that fourth hatch is in conjunction with the harass. There's no way he's just going to slowly expand over there.
No, I think you're right. With the amount of Banelings that are coming up, he's looking to get really aggressive, just to maybe one big punch, and hope that it's a KO punch before too much tech comes out. But I'm looking at this, and unless Drop is somehow involved, Jesus Christ, Sentries Immortals? It's going to be tricky.
Yeah, I don't know. This is, I'm waiting to be inspired by what Snoot's doing. He's got a Spire coming up, which we've seen him go like 5, 6, sometimes 7 or 8. Mutas, mostly...
Infestation Pit too.
War Prism. Yeah, that tells me late game, obviously, but...
Yeah. But where's his fourth base if he's doing that? A weird sort of 3-base attack with tech like that. I mean, you'd think the Infestation Pit's probably to go to Hive. Strangely enough, despite the burrowing Infester caster tech, we've not seen a single Infester this entire event, which has been a bit disappointing, I've got to say.
Specifically in the TY game, I would say. That's where, of all the games so far, you absolutely have to want to try and fungal those ghosts. So there's, like, not a better target in this game.
A lot of Banes coming up from Snoot. Still has gas like he could, but oh, big hits right there on the sentries. Still a lot of Archons, though. That's going to be difficult to fight. More Banes being added. Just, good lord.
Lands a very good Corrosive Bile, but behind that has to give up the base. Fourth base is going to finish by the time Snoot even puts down another fourth base attempt. And behind this, he's like kind of going Hive, but with no upgrades. I mean, I don't know. This is kind of what I was talking about. Like, I think Snoot's an amazing player, but if you watch this game, I don't think you necessarily think that.
It's just a struggle at this point. He has now finally taken that fourth, perhaps if he's left alone, but Stats is getting to the point where he just has a ball of power and he'd love to just throw it at something. Unless he's going to sit around being super passive, and I don't really see a huge reason for that. We do see some nice Ling run bys. That's a lovely surround. It looks like he's gonna get the Immortal. He gets it. Great trade. That's nice. Get rid of one of those. Absolutely.
The only thing I would have liked to have seen in pairing with that is with the whole army comes back to deal with 10 Lings, he could have maybe done some damage to that fourth base. Suit's just being very wary right now because his whole life in this game is on this army.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, a lot of that army are suicide bombers. Like, they're actually themselves are going to disappear, hopefully in exchange, of course, but...
You'd certainly hope so. I mean, they're relatively tough. With the upgrade, that's kind of nice, although the weird and probably incorrect mental mathematics that I've been doing on it right now, I don't think they help that much against many of these units. Like, Archon still now one-shot them because of the +2 upgrade. Maybe they help a little bit against Zealots, but that's not really a factor anyway. They're Banelings. I mean, if they're in that range with Zealots, then the Zealots are going bye-bye anyway. Great Aspire on the way up here for Snoot. Very interesting choice.
And +2 melee, and that's it. Fleet Beacon. Dang it, Nathanius.
There it is. Fleet Bacon on the way.
It's not well ahead of the Greater Spire, so in terms of that, Snoot's doing okay.
Yeah, there's not going to be a ton of Tempests to meet this. Let's be honest. With Corruptors already on the way, if he could fly those over, it looks like he's got a... I think he's got a window. I'm a bit worried about that massive Archon count. If those Archons get underneath the Broodlords, and that's it. They're gone. But there's so many Banelings that maybe, you know, if they try and do that, they could get wiped out, even though it would be a very inefficient, messy trade indeed. Well, I guess we'll see what he can do. Attempted run by, shut down, only 2 drones killed, not too shabby. Certainly Snoot looking in a better position than he was. He's got an almost maxed out army, so does Stats. There's a mothership on the way. That's not a Tempest in control. That's not a Tempest at all.
Nope. It'll be, actually, this is a bit of a blunder by Stats. Only just now adding the additional Stargates.
Yeah.
Usually by the time you make Fleet Beacon, god dang it. I can't believe that's in my head so hard.
Forever.
It's the morning, I guess, but he does have 2 Stargates, but usually you want to be at like 4 right now if you're up on 4 bases going 5. A slight mistake. I don't want to make it sound like it's the biggest deal. It's not. He's fine.
What do you think of Snoot's position now, then? Because, you know, a few minutes ago, you were definitely concerned for him. It is getting a hell of a lot better. Why do you think that is? Is Stats just being really passive? Is that what has allowed Snoot to get to this point?
Yeah. He's continuously Zealot harass the top base, and I like that from him. I like that he's not overcommitting. I just wish he would have traded out some of these units. Like, the Immortals no longer serve almost any purpose at all. And yet he's maxed out, so his army's not super optimal right now at all.
Tempest in play.
He's gonna have a tough time dealing with the Tempest.
I'm a bit worried about that Mothership core. Like, there's 3 Overseers, I guess, so it can't be too bad. But yeah, as I said, the Tempests are going to be a nightmare. Those Broodlords aren't going to get anything done. And
I love this by Snoot, though. Getting this base is a huge deal. And the probes betray the lower left-hand side, too.
Oh, he's going in with the Banelings after the Archons.
There's just so many Banelings.
Oh my god, that is so many Banelings. That's a lot of Banelings, but it's not enough Banelings. There's still a few Archons left, but here comes the follow-up, the cavalry. The Suicide Squad was sent in, and then the follow-up comes in the form of Ravagers. Lots and lots of Ravagers. They don't really care so much about the Tempests. And frankly, those Zealots didn't do much at all. Snoot able to trade well. He takes that middle base out, and now we can back away.
I would be mega big on the Snoop hype train if not for how amazingly sexy the move was from Stats to take those 2 Immortals, drop them, and pick off the base up top left.
Lost this one.
If Snoot can kill bottom left, then he's way ahead right now, but it's a pretty big if.
Pathogen glands, it's happening. The dream is real.
Oh my god,
we might actually see Infestors. I would be very, very happy if we saw that. As it stands, I'm a little concerned about Snoot's economy. Like, you did predict that those Immortals weren't going to be so useful, so hey, go do something with them, and he did. And he killed one of the principal mining bases. This is a base that has a lot of resources at it. Look at how deteriorated the mineral lines are of everything else that Snoot is mining.
Yep.
That could be messy. I mean,
this allows for Stats to recalibrate. It's like, okay, I'm not facing a Broodlord army per se, so I'm not going to keep making Tempests. I'm going to get back on the Archon Zealot train. And he's able to do that because he picked off that base. If Snoot was mining from that base this whole time, there'd be the option for him to be like, am I not going Broodlords, or am I going to go Broodlords? Now it's no question. He simply cannot.
Yeah, 4 Tempests, no chance. Archon's added in the mix as well. So let's see what can happen with these Infestors. Now, I assume they don't have...
Neural?
I assume they don't start with Neural, right? No, they don't. You still have to pay for that. Okay, so, and we've seen no sign of that at all. As much as that probably isn't going to work. Hello, we got a big Ravager Bile shot. That was an excellent shot. Taking down one Archon, blistering another, and trying to take the Tempests out as well. Great shots again from Snoot. Another Tempest full. Zealots come around the side, but the fungal growth in the nick of time. The 4 Infesta support squad comes in, but those Archons just too powerful.
And Snoot let it all hang out right there. The Infestors were there. They don't retreat very well. The Queens were there. The fight was looking like it was his to take, but just not enough production behind it. You can see he has no bank to speak of. His main and natural are almost gone. His third not looking too great. If Snoot was up on like 2 full mining bases, that's where he snowballs and there's no looking back. But as it is,
he can handle that. I mean, the problem, I suppose, is that what we saw initially from him was like, wow, he did a really big attack with a ton of Banelings, and he actually, like, crushed the core of the Protoss army. Yes, but he spent so much to do it and didn't really have much of a follow-up. Like, he got a base out of it, which was cool, but he lost a base in return. And I think that, as you mentioned, the base that he lost was more important than the base that Stats lost.
Yes. But it's just that Stats was able to do that while the fight was going on. That's the incredible part. Like, he was able to micro in 2 places at once fairly decently. And
the key base under threat once again. Like, maybe more than under threat. This is just, there's so much here. The Archon may very well be taken out. Spinecrawler certainly proving its worth, but that base has been overwhelmed. He's going to have to pull back from that. He lands more corrosive biles on the Zealots. Really good shots there. But I don't think he's got the army anymore. He just doesn't. It's 76 army supply at 28. I mean, for God's sake, there's still a mothership core up in the air. He doesn't have any way of handling that. And that is GG. Pretty damn fun game from Snoot, I gotta say. Like, some very interesting stylistic choices going on there. Just not quite enough to overcome someone as good as Stats, I'm afraid.
He looked just kind of confused at first, but then when Snoot started to get into the rhythm of things, he looked really good. There's a couple fights there that I thought were going really well for him. And actually, like I said, they really could have been tipping off points into him snowballing and not looking back. But Stats just remained so true in denying a safe 4th base, and Snoot just never even got up to a 5th base. I don't think he even tried, which meant that while the fights were going well, because they were semi-traded out, he could never replace his army adequately enough.
So what's your assessment so far of the upgrades to the Banelings, that plus 10 HP? Do you think it's really factoring in all that much, or do you think that right now we're just seeing Zerg players kind of experiment with it and hope for the best?
I think the biggest impact is in ZVT. You are seeing, especially mid and late game, a lot of Terran players trying to get away from Bio just because those Centrifugal Hook Banelings are just so good. They're just, the 10 health is not like, it's not like 8 armor Ultralist or something like that ridiculous, but it's just enough that the thing is, it only takes like 3 or 4 Banelings hitting for it to be devastating. You don't need, it's not like, 20 hit. Like, it's obviously amazing when they do, but for the most part, it's doable. But yep, that's where you feel it the most.
It stings, no doubt about it. We're going to be right back after the break, folks. We have 2 more players remaining. Stats is our current King of the Hill, and he's certainly proving his ability. Fantastic player, like anyone really had any doubts about that, but his games have been excellent. Can anyone face him down, or will he end the year on a high? We'll find out after the break, folks. You're watching ShoutCraft Kings December. Don't go anywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to ShoutCraft Kings. We have 2 more maps to go. It's been one hell of an event, and hopefully we can end it with a bang. Stats is your current King of the Hill, and one hell of a King of the Hill he is. 3 maps under his belt, $750. He has 2 more potential opponents left. Let's just get right into it and find out who he's going to be facing.
Let's do it.
I always look forward to seeing this guy play. He's a hell of a lot of fun, no doubt about it. Win or lose regardless. He should provide a very interesting challenge for this player. I want to see what he can do. He is Gumiho.
Towel Terran himself. Always clever, aggressive, but deceivingly crisp too. Just very top-tier Terran player. Really fun to watch.
What's interesting as well, of course, is that he has a proclivity to lean towards the mech side of things every once in a while. And I'm intrigued to see if he decides to do anything like that here. It is against Protoss. It would be an odd choice, but we saw it before. We saw Time attempt to use Cyclones. And it was kind of working for a little while.
Yeah.
So, maybe. And, of course, the all-powerful Viking with its amazing anti-mechanical attack.
Well, I mean, In the TVP matchup, a little bit less likely, but
I
Gumio
think
is
so.
that kind of guy. Like,
He would.
talk about these players, he's a guy that I wouldn't say would buckle down and do like a mega macro game where he never attacks you kind of thing. You're always going to get attacked when you play Gumio. But is it the 2-base variety? Is it the mid-game 3-base variety? Is it a 1-base variety, which we've seen a lot from him as well? He's going to attack you, but how he attacks you is very different, and that's something that's unique to him.
Obviously, a 1-base Viking all-in. Only the way to go. I'm just saying, probes are mechanical. 2-shot. It's 2-shot. That would be incredible. I'm going to go on ladder and do that. I'm going to do that after the show.
We've seen it. The problem is with the Viking is like that's a cool role for it, but it comes out of the starport, which is so incredibly important for medevacs, for liberators that do similar or better things better. But if you have Vikings because the guy went Colossus or something like that, I could definitely see someone using the Vikings that way for sure.
I mean, hell, we even saw it used when they didn't do that much damage. People would still drop them. It's like, well, what the hell else am I going to do with them? Might as well. They're often landed as a meat shield in a fight just to provide a little bit extra DPS, but now, weirdly enough, they actually pack quite a punch against mechanical units. We saw them effectively used in TBT. That's what interests me the most, I think, because that'll probably be where the utility is most used, because you build them anyway, usually to get the visibility for your tanks, and now we're probably going to see them used as more than just glorified observation balloons.
Yeah. And they're viable in TVT. Like, there's actually just a lot of units that they do fairly well against, and even when they're in the air, they're okay against things like medevacs. They'll hold Ravens back. You might have made them for a Banshee or two. Like, everything about them has more utility and point there, so you're just going to see more of them. And it's been fun. We were laughing because in a couple of those TVTs, they landed and, like, almost instantaneously, everything's blowing up and dying. It's like, everything's gone.
It was awesome.
By the way, they don't last very long.
It was the final revenge for that Viking that went down in the hot cinematic. It was finally their time to shine. But, I mean, it's like you said. They got 2 massive ass Gatling guns on their arms. Why would they not do that kind of damage?
They should. I'm glad. They're in a good spot right now. They're more interesting right now. Kind of like the Corruptor change made them way more interesting, way a little further back.
Yeah, Corruptor was the most boring unit in the game, let's be honest.
Way up there.
Not a great unit. I mean, even its attack is boring. It's like a lazy spit. It's like, ugh.
Yeah.
Ugh. You're not even trying, not even putting any force behind it. Ugh.
Well, I will say this on that, like, I've met a lot of the StarCraft team, Team 1 at Blizzard. I hope they don't hate me for saying this, but the Corruptor animation, it is one of the stupidest, worst things I've ever seen. It looks like someone, it's funny because they're like, well, we were going for it either looking like it's pissing on something or vomiting on it. Like it's just, and at first it's like, okay, but then it just keeps going. It's so bad, but all right. And not everything can be a home run. It's fine.
Well, Gomeho has a mine, a cyclone, and a reaper, and he's building more cyclones and mines. I am so happy.
Yeah, this sounds exactly like a Gumio game.
Yep.
If a random Thor shows up and makes a battle, then we know we're in the zone.
I'd be happy with that because I mean the Thor actually had a bit of a change as well, didn't it? God knows if that works.
Well, I'm gonna give a shout out because we got him in the chat. He's cast with you before in ShoutCraft Kings, but I'll tell you what. There actually is viability to the battlecruiser, and if you watch Nathaniel's stream, he's doing a lot of experimentation with it.
About bloody time.
The fact that they're not on an energy bar and they just have a cooldown for zipping in and out is incredible. It's so good. I'm excited to see pro gamers experiment with it because they need to. It's really
God,
good.
Yes. That would be lovely. And by the way, Stats must be laughing his arse off at the pathetic anti-air attack of the Cyclone there. Yeah. It's like, I've locked on! Oh.
Stay here, please, for like a minute.
It's like, well, what was the point of locking on then? You could have just, thrown it in the vague direction of the bloody thing and probably done more damage. Good lord, it's tickling. It's terrible.
Stats only with 5 kills in the Oracle, but they're pretty important 5 kills.
It's pretty good. Yeah.
He's already taken a fast third, and in doing the econ damage that he has done, he just has to hold on against this attack. But we do have one of my biggest pet peeves in the entire world. That's a Nexus without a pylon. Why in the hell would you ever do that?
He's about to regret that, because this is what Cyclones do to buildings now. Quite a lot is the answer to that. And you know what? I have a feeling those adepts are going to get chewed up if they're not careful. Firing away they go, but the lifts come in. Oh, they don't die very fast, do they? No, they don't. And Gumiho brings in the Cyclone firepower, backed up by Marines, blasts his way through the Adepts. The Phoenixes are just really confused about the whole affair, and now that Nexus may very well die.
Watch this pylon too. Photon overcharge! It's like, no. Way too far back, but he is starting to turn the fight here a little bit.
Oh, he's also almost built a missile turret as a lift. It's not doing anything. To be fair, neither are the Cyclones, but oh god, if that missile turret had been built, this whole thing would have changed. Now the Cyclones must back off. That is a real shame.
Oh, wait, don't mind.
Deploy it. No, don't. Just probably get out of there. Well, I mean, if that had killed the third base, that would have been spectacular.
Yeah.
If that missile turret had completed, which it was less than a second from finishing, it would have been spectacular. Unfortunately, neither of those things happened, which I don't think it is an indictment of the build, just an indictment of the fact that Stats happened to hold it off pretty damn well.
He did, and Phoenix are a good counter here. It's a tough spot for Gumio. It's like, okay, I'm behind. What do I want to do? Well, I want to drop. I want a Widowmine drop. I want to do something along those lines. Well, against Phoenix, you do not feel comfortable doing that at all.
Against lifted.
He's just going to hang out back here and work with less econ. The other thing that Gumio is kind of famous for is because he's so aggressive, he actually doesn't make very many SCVs typically. And if you do any kind of econ damage to him at all, that kind of makes that a bigger issue. So
yeah, entry levels 1 is done. That's always nice. Let's get him a bit of window until Resonating Glaives kicks in, at which point you'll not want to be anywhere near that. Looks like we're not getting any more Cyclones, which is a shame. I gotta say, not only is their animation for the regular attack, not the air attack, that's terrible, but the regular attack, awesome to watch, but watching a building literally melt in front of 4 of them is just amazing. I think I might log in and play some Terran. I'm going to play Viking Cyclone. It's going to be wonderful.
Alright, he's going to push up here. He's going to try to get something done, but there's so many Adepts. It's like, good luck.
That is a very unfortunate place to put that mine.
Oh my god, what is he going to be doing? You got to get out of here, bro. Hey, here's the thing. What is Stats doing? Stats' army is like twice as strong, and he's like, I don't know if I go out there and commit with my Phoenix and this giant army, what could happen?
Well, I mean, there might be 10 Cyclones hidden somewhere. You know how Gumiho is.
Yeah, fair enough.
He's not shown a huge army, and the army supply is relatively even. I'm just starting to get a bit concerned on the tech front at the moment. At least we have 4 medevacs out now. That's good, and there's at least 1 Marauder in the mix.
Well, he didn't go on this attack, but he is getting a War Prism out. +1 attack is about to finish, so it looks like Stats is going to try the field here in a moment.
Well, Gumiho already knows it's coming. He had control of that watchtower. There's now Liberators and more Widow Mines being added into the mix, and a good amount of Marauder production being added as well, which is helpful, considering how Stalker-heavy this army is. So, I think Gumiho could hold this. That's a scary big army, but it's not undefeatable.
No, it's definitely looking a lot better for him. Specifically the combo of Widow Mines with Liberators. That is a very potent combo. Very strong.
I'm a bit worried about these Phoenix. Like, they may be able to lift all the Marauders out of the composition. They could lift the Widow Mines up. Those would be a big deal. Alternatively, they could all run into a Widow Mine and die. Who knows? Let's find out. And here comes the defense. SCV's being pulled off the line. The third base already lifted to get it the hell away from there. The Phoenix is being held back in reserve for the time being. Mine's not coming into play, but now Liberation Zone's being added in. Stats being forced into a nasty position. In come the Phoenixes to try and bring down the Liberators. They will eventually be able to do that, but not before quite a few nasty shots come off. The Marauders do it, and there's the lift on the Marauders. And now the rout is in play. The Terran army forced backwards.
Just well played by Stats. He shaded forward to kind of get a look at what's going on.
The mine lift.
Didn't see much, and just had more stuff. Just showed up and clobbered.
Big mine lift. Got most of them out of there. Couple detonated, but that is going to be a pretty hard hold now. 22 SCVs put down, and there's the GG. I'm not disappointed in Gumiho. I'm disappointed that that push didn't work, because it was so close to working.
It was, and kudos and credit where it's deserved. Stats was very patient with his defense, by the way. Like a lot of Protoss players, I think, would have shambled into that attack a little bit earlier. And certainly the damage was felt. He did pull the probes. And one thing we're kind of learning, or at least I am watching this, it's almost like don't even pull your probes against Cyclones. They kill them. As fast as they kill buildings, they kill probes way faster. It looked bad. So the damage was felt, but because he was able to kill most of that army, and Gumio wasn't building any econ behind that, Gumio was kind of shooting himself in the foot at the same time.
Yeah, a little bit. That missile turret was really cute, and it was 5 HP from finishing. That's heartbreaking to me. But you know what? Like, that push really makes me kind of rethink the Cyclone and what it can do. And maybe it could end up being a fairly effective early push unit. Basically I have a building, I want to kill an expansion, this is the unit I'm going to use to do it kind of idea.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued. You know, maybe that unit has a bright future. But I gotta say, good God, its anti-air is just disgracefully terrible.
It is shocking because it went from being one of the most obnoxiously good anti-air units you can make, where it locks onto you and hits you from across the screen, to, you actually are not an anti-air thing at all.
No, not really. It's almost like they shouldn't have that feature at all now. But hey, just, focus on shooting stuff on the ground. We have reached the end. The final map. The final tournament for 2016. Let's make this matchup a good one. Let's have a little bit of Protoss versus Zerg to finish off this event. We've had some amazing matchups. Great Korean versus Korean, great foreigner versus foreigner, great foreigner versus Korean as always. Let's make sure that we end it on that note. The current King of the Hill will be facing off against none other than the Queen of Blades, Scarlet.
Excited to see her play. She is a hard worker as well when she's focused on StarCraft, and I believe she's in Korea even.
She is. Yep. Apparently she's a night owl at the moment. She's gone full nocturnal, so it's not really a big deal for her that she's playing at what would now be 4 a.m. So she has no real issue with that.
Well, good. What a way to end this. It's been awesome. ShoutCraft Kings December. November was awesome. October was awesome. Everything before that I didn't cast, so I'm sure they were okay, but not amazing. You know what I mean? Like, now is really when we're coming in on our own.
We are seeing some damn good games. Like, I think this has probably been the best tournament we've had, no doubt. Now, unfortunate for Scarlet that she actually should be in China right now.
Yeah.
She qualified for the WCA and battled through a lot of people to do it. And unfortunately, apparently because of disorganization on the WCA's end, they weren't able to get her the right forms and visa stuff in time. So she wasn't able to enter the country to compete. So instead, she's up at 4 a.m. in Korea playing ShoutCraft Kings for the final map, which I don't think is much of a consolation. But regardless, that sucks. That really sucks when you've earned something like that and you have it taken away from you.
It does. Especially at that level, you don't hear often from. I mean, we've been really lucky with a lot of the tournaments in StarCraft 2 to have been so well ran that these kind of issues are not common. You don't hear about it, so it's unfortunate. But it is nice that we get to benefit in the sense that Scarlet is here playing for our pleasure, and she's an incredibly fun player. Really, always famous for her creep spread, her aggression. She's just a very talented player. It's going to be an awesome match.
Yeah, it should be.
Not. Or Stats is going to run her over, and it's terrible. But,
I don't think so. I mean, I'm pretty confident in Scarlet's PvZ, and more to the point, lately, her form has just got a crap ton better. Currently, her ZVP is... Let's see. She's done pretty well. Got a 56% win ratio in it. She did really well in the qualifiers for IEM, I can't pronounce your name.
Gyeonggi.
Really?
It's not that.
Is it that?
No.
Gongi. No. I'm not going to keep saying that because I'm going to offend somebody. She crushed. Like, she beat 8 players, for God's sake. She did really, really well. Slapped around well, Bly. Did, unfortunately, lose to Lenok in a ZVZ, Jack G in a ZVT. She beat up a bunch of Chinese players in the OSC All-Stars Weekly 13. 3-0 against Breaking GG, 3-0 against Cloudy, 2-1 against Silky, 2-1 against Punk. She had a really great match with Neeb, actually. It's well worth watching. There was a Polygon Invitational number 5, big show match, best of 7. They went, well, I won't spoil the result, I guess, because you might want to go watch that. Let's just say it was close. A really great match between two absolutely incredible foreigners. You know, the number 1 American player and the number 1 Canadian player. So, she's back on form. And she's definitely had her ups and downs when it comes to that, but let's not take away from what she has accomplished in this scene, which is an absolute ton compared to the majority of foreign players.
Absolutely. She's going to be chasing this Adept in here, but it does cancel the Shade, which is interesting, because, again, the scouting ability for Adepts these days is not as good. We are seeing something different, by the way. I've been talking about how we almost always see Archon drop. It's so cliche. It's the standard. Well, we're going to see the Glaive upgrade in at least 3 upgrades. If you go much further than this in upgrades, or excuse me, gateways, then we're starting to, you know, it's a 2-base timing attack. But as it is right now, I think it's just going to be a fast third.
There is a Roach Warren on the way, and Resonating Glaives certainly helps the Adept be a bit more competitive against the Roach, but it doesn't make it great against it. It just changes it from horrible to merely adequate. Yeah. Yeah, you can win a fight against Roaches if you have, like, a huge, overwhelming number, but otherwise you're not looking to take that fight. Yeah. What do you think the overall goal of this is here from Stats? Well, I really think it's to take the third, but honestly, we're approaching that time where he should have already taken it. Like, you want to do it behind this aggression or even with it, because if they have Lings to deal with that, well, then you have enough gateways to you know, deal with it in kind. But he's not expanding. There's the Stargate. Oh, okay. Some players do a double Stargate. Yeah. Ooh, there it is. Okay, that should be Phoenix, actually. But I'm going to say this, and I know they're not very good, but I still would love to see Void Rays. I would love to see it. On this map in particular, Void Rays are actually doable. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's Habitation Station. We've seen that time and time and time again. What's the current problem with Void Rays? I mean, Void Rays haven't really been changed a great deal for quite some time, but they seem to have fallen out of favor. They're coming back a little bit because they did increase their movement speed, and I believe they decreased their build time, but don't quote me on the second one. I do know that they move a little bit faster. But the problem is just, as always, the things you do anyways are just a good or even dominant response set against Terran. Yeah. Marines destroy them. Or if you want to be really safe against Vikings. Zerg, well, they're happy to go Hydras anyways, so, oh my god. Oh, what a trap right here from Scarlet. Full surround plus Roach support. Stats ran right into it. And that is 2 Vision Adepts, ladies and gentlemen, and that might have just stolen a good game from us. On the tower, you actually 60 can't... 60 Splatter 14. Check the gold base. Really well done. She's got to go. Right now. There's nothing. Can she break through here? Surely. Yeah, she's going to try. There's just nothing but production behind it. No. Well, let's see if she can break through. And she is in. This is a disaster for Stats. He walked right into that one. You might think, well, how could he possibly do that? Well, like you said, the Shades now have 2 vision. It is possible to make that kind of mistake. Scarlet set up a perfect trap. A perfect trap. He thought he was surrounding Scarlet's Roaches to eliminate them. In fact, he was walking right into the main Zerg army. 44 army supply to 14. The reign of Stats may about to come to an end. Hey, John. Yes. This is called ShoutCraft Kings, right? Nope. It's not anymore. Queens. ShoutCraft Queens, ladies and gentlemen. Scarlet wins the final map of the year, dethroning Stats, who has been on a ridiculous run, defeating excellent players. Apparently, that doesn't matter. Apparently, playing at 4 a.m. doesn't matter. Scarlet absolutely crushes Stats in one decisive move. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, this is what we were talking about, where, like, if you had 5 or 6 games of that kind of critical level of a mistake, it would feel bad, because it's like, these are not that interesting results. But for us, we saw Stats dominate. We saw him play really well. And yes, he made a really bad mistake there, and Scarlet capitalized. But that in and of itself is kind of cool, because Stats had not been making those mistakes. Or I would even go back to that, the PvZ against Dark, I think it was, where it's like, this is looking really bad. But then he recovered from the mistake. And Scarlet
had the killer instinct to be like, no recovery here. You're just dead.
That was ridiculous. Right? Just completely decisive, crushing blow. It was a bit of a weird build, certainly from stats. I mean, why do you think that he decided to go for something other than his run-of-the-mill? I mean, you just feel tired? Did he know something about Scarlet that we don't?
Well, I mean, these pro players know that they're being watched. He's played at least one PvZ. I think it was 2. And Scarlet was watching, and if he just did the Archon drop again on this map, and this is a fairly small map, by the way, so there is the risk, too, of, like, well, they're defending against the Archon drop, they make a bunch of units, and then if you try to take a third, you're in trouble. So that kind of forces you to do a 2-base timing attack, kind of. And that can be less than favorable against a Zerg, especially if they think you're going to do that before the game even starts. So that all might have encouraged him to think he needed to trade up his build. The build he did's not bad. Like, honestly, look at this defense. Imagine that with, 14 more Adepts at the top of that ramp. He actually holds this off easy. No question about it.
Yeah.
And then what if the Phoenix catches Scarlet off guard and the game goes exactly the opposite direction, just as dominant, by the way?
Wow. What can I say? Well, that is quite the end to the year, isn't it? We will go into next year with Scarlet being our ShoutCraft Queen, and she will face off against God knows what horrors we can summon from the depths of the spawning pool. Quite a few, I imagine. Quite a few nasty players, but considering Scarlet's current form, I would give her a solid shot. Especially after watching that. That was very decisive. That's real killer instinct right there.
Absolutely. I mean, they just announced, too, that next year we are going to have a nice WCS system with some tournaments to practice for. So these guys know what they need to focus on and what they need to do to succeed. There's a couple of cool ones teased out there. GSL versus the World has me intrigued. I saw Super Tournament 2X, which is something that Polt kind of launched his World Foundation tour off of. So
absolutely.
There is stuff to be excited about, and I'm excited for ShoutCraft Kings going the entire year and roping us along for that journey. It's going to be great.
That would be wonderful, wouldn't it? And I'm very confident that Kings will return in 2017. I can't give you the specific details as of yet. A lot of ink needs to dry. A lot of negotiations still need to be had. But what I can vaguely tell you is that Blizzard has been incredibly happy with the performance of ShoutCraft Kings. It has exceeded their expectations. And I've been extremely happy with how well the format's worked. I think of all the things that we've done over the last 6 or 7 years when it comes to online tournaments, invitationals, clan wars, house tournaments, all that sort of thing. This has been by far the most successful format. People have really responded well to it, and it's resonated, and it's been a hell of a lot of fun to cast, I have to admit. You never really know what's going to happen, and all of these players play their hearts out for it because they know that they only get one chance.
Well,
so
to
that's
play armchair psychologist, too, I can see it being particularly favorable for you because it's every match has that gridiron, exciting, mano-y-mano challenge feel to it where we get to create these narratives, or these narratives have been created for us, and then we get to see it played out again,
Stakes. That's what it's all about. Not delicious steaks, but high stakes.
Yeah.
When every match matters, when every map matters, people care. So we're going to be bringing this back in 2017. There's no real doubt about that. We'll try and bring it back bigger. We'll try and bring it back better. And it's been a really weird year for StarCraft 2. We've had a lot of ups and downs. The things that have happened in the Korean scene are at best regrettable, at worst potentially catastrophic.
Mm-hmm.
The kind of things that we've had happen there, the retirements as a result, the collapse of teams, the closing of long-running leagues, and of course the lack of these big live tournaments being taken on by these big organizations, that sucks. That stings. Like, there's no two ways to look at that. The people that have been leaving the scene because they just can't sustain being involved in it anymore, whether they be content creators, whether they be administrators, website owners, team owners. Yeah, that's a gut punch. But ultimately, we've also had a phenomenal year when it comes to amazing tournaments, great play caliber, an incredible BlizzCon final, arguably the best we've ever had, a deserving champion with a wonderful story behind him, a packed arena, with one of the best crowds I've ever had the pleasure to be a part of.
Yeah.
And some really awesome online events. Because honestly, when these big lands decide not to include StarCraft 2, we've got people around here that see that as an opportunity to make something of their own. To create something for themselves, to create something to help support the scene. And it's not because they want money out of it, because there isn't money to be had from it. It's not because they're looking for fame and fortune. If they were looking for that, they would not be going to StarCraft of all places.
Right.
No. They're here because they're passionate about the game. They truly believe that this game is worth working for, that it's worth sacrificing for, that it's worth investing in. Because it is that damn good, because it is that enjoyable to watch, because it has got better and better and better. And when it comes to RTS and esports, it's the only thing flying the flag at any real height right now. And even if StarCraft 2 were 10 times, 100 times smaller than it currently is, and it's certainly by no means small. It's not the size of League of Legends or Counter-Strike anymore. It's not the #1 esport, but there's still a great audience for this, and that audience is extremely passionate for the game that they really enjoy, and that audience deserves great quality content. The players that are involved in this deserve to be supported. They deserve to have tournaments to play and to showcase their skill. If they're going to work all day and all night and commit their lives to something, then the least that we can do is put on events to make sure that they get to showcase their talents. And we'll be doing that in 2017 come hell or high water, as far as I'm concerned. And every tournament that doesn't happen is an opportunity to create something awesome. And hopefully you guys will stick around and enjoy that, because we'll be here. That I can guarantee.
It's turning a frown upside down. That's what I call it, Mr. TotalBiscuit.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen,
I just want to conclude by saying thank you as well for having me along, and just I agree with everything you said, and I think there is a lot to be excited about and happy about, and one of the coolest initiatives is the people that are still making StarCraft content. And I love that you advertised some of that's going on. In fact, right after this, Fear Dragon is doing his tournament.
That he is.
Ace Trade's going to be doing stuff, and so are others. And there's a lot of StarCraft to be watched and had. If you're having a good time, support the ones that put that on, and ensure that more of it comes.
Yep, we'll be making sure that you know about it through the ShoutCraft Kings Court talk show, as well as the ads for these events that we show on future episodes of ShoutCraft Kings. If you like the look of those tournaments, go watch them. Go support the content. Go consume the content. There's a ton of it out there, way more than you might imagine. And it's kind of ridiculous that it's so hard to find more often than not. But keep an eye on TeamLiquid.net. They always track the upcoming events. Keep an eye on their calendar. Keep an eye on SC Reddit. Keep an eye on Battle.net forums. Keep an eye on the Battle.net client. There's plenty of content to consume. More than you probably have time for. But thank you very much for deciding to spend some of your time with us. We've had a great 6-tournament run. It's been a hell of a lot of fun. I really believe in this format. The viewership clearly shows that it works beyond a shadow of a doubt. And it's going to happen in 2017, and we're going to make it even better. With obstacles removed, with obstinance removed, and with the people who were unfortunately responsible for hamstringing us early on when it came to both these events and others that we've organized out of the way, we can get to the task of making sure that these players in both South Korea and in other countries are properly supported with some amazing events. Jeff, thank you very much for spending so much time, for getting up at 4:30, God knows what time. Tell us where to go to watch your content. You have lots of it.
Thank you, John, so much. I'm truly honored to be here. Look, guys, I too do a lot of StarCraft stuff. If you're interested, please do consider clicking the follow button on my Twitch page. I'm going to be a full-time streamer this next year, and I'm dedicated to StarCraft. I want to stream it every single day, but a big part of that is continuing to look for ways to grow my audience and my base. And if any of you are enjoying your time or enjoying StarCraft, maybe look there. It's iNcontroL TV on Twitch. And then, as always, just follow me on Twitter. That's kind of where I talk about all the things and happenings I'm doing. I've got a lot of exciting stuff coming out next year. And just to reiterate what TotalBiscuit said, I hope and I'm sure a big part of that will be ShoutCraft Kings next year, because this is too damn fun. You guys are too amazing of an audience, and these games are too damn good. They have to happen. Korea versus non-Koreans and Koreans fighting top Koreans is just too damn good. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you very much for coming to cast this with us. I'd like to give out a few thanks before we end the show today for all of the people that have made this tournament possible. First and foremost, it's very important to thank Blizzard and those involved over there, particularly Amy, Kara, and Adrian specifically, but plenty more have also been involved in making this event happen. And that's a show of trust from Blizzard, to say, here's some of our money, go out and do something with it. And we did. And we hope that they're very happy with it, and we hope that they want us to do it again. And we hope that we haven't scared them off. I'm sure the commentary was fine. Not a problem. A big thanks, of course, has to go out to the Korean team, specifically Crank, Alicia, Ryung, and Olivia. Commentary, and more importantly, the guys that got things done. Olivia admins tirelessly for so many events, admins for us as well. Make sure that all the games are properly set up, that everything runs smoothly, that's not another thing that I have to worry about on 2 hours sleep, or in this case, 0 hours sleep. And is really the reason why we got as many great players this year as we did. Navigating the treacherous waters of the political esports situation over there, which I guess, again, the silver lining has disappeared now, that we can continue now unimpeded. I'd like to thank all of our foreign language casting teams, specifically O Gaming, Take TV, Emil, and of course our new broadcast colleague, Neo TV, for Chinese language. Naturally, thank you very much. We really appreciate all of your work to make this content available to non-English speaking audiences. That's amazing. Thank you for everything that you do. Big thanks, of course, to Team Liquid for their promotional support for the tournament. And thank you to all of the production crew at ESL that made ShoutCraft Kings live on the BlizzCon stage possible. They stayed late to make that happen. They put just as much effort into that as they did into the main event. They were great to work with. They were super professional and very helpful. And they dealt with all my stupid requests. So thank you very much for that. And big thanks, perhaps, last but by no means least, to you guys, the audience. This event would not be here without you. We've put on ridiculous numbers for an online tournament. Let me put it that way. Yeah. Half of me feels really proud of that. Half of me is really happy about that. And the other half of me is a little sad that some of these other grassroots events don't get that level of support. And even some of these live tournaments are not getting that level of support. That's not okay. And if there's anything that we can do into 2017 to make sure that that doesn't happen again, and that we're able to provide a rising tide that lifts all ships, then that's exactly what we're going to be doing. We've got some interesting plans next year, some things that are outside the box that may very well help. I certainly hope they will. I think that's about it. I hope I haven't forgotten anybody. If I have, then I apologize. Oh yeah, one last thing. Big thanks to our other co-casters. Jeff is not the only one. He may be the most important, but not the only. Nathanius, and of course, Ben the Muslim Baker. Thank you very much for your participation as co-casters in this event as well. I'm going to bed. I haven't slept yet. So, maybe just let me off for a couple of the missed calls. I haven't been entirely conscious this entire event. I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. Can I go sleep now? Sounds good. You should probably go sleep as well. You got up at stupid o'clock. Jesus. All right. We're done.
You guys take
very
it
much.
Easy. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Just enjoy the VODs. If you happen to be a subscriber, thank you for your support. You can enjoy the VODs immediately as we go off the air. Those are uncut. The cut VODs are on their way over the next couple of days. I have 97 gigabytes of footage to send over to my editor. He's gonna love that! So, expect those to come up sometime around Monday. Thank you very much for watching. Big thanks to the players. Last but by no means least, for providing such great entertainment. You're awesome. We want to support you. Please don't go away. Please don't go to another game. Please don't retire. If you can feasibly keep doing this, we'd love to have you. Because we think you're all great. And we hope that we can show you that over the next year or so. We'll see you next time, folks. Goodbye from ShoutCraft Kings December. And if you missed any of the show, go check out youtube.com/TotalBiscuit. That is where all the spoiler-free VODs are for the last 5 tournaments. If you missed them, what the hell are you doing? You got more StarCraft to watch. Go do it. We're done. Thank you. Good night.